I'm allowed to have options, she said, like she was ordering off a menu. She wasn't even trying to hide it. She was perched on another guy's lap in the middle of a crowded apartment, one hand on his shoulder, laughing while he whispered in her ear. And when she looked up at me, she didn't flinch. She smiled. This small, satisfied smile, like she'd been waiting for me to finally walk into the scene she'd set. I didn't yell. I didn't grab her arm. I didn't do the "what the hell is wrong with you" act speech everyone expects in stories like this. I just nodded once, picked up my jacket from the back of a chair, and left. I blocked her number in the Uber before we even hit the highway ramp. My name is Mason. I'm the guy who double-checks the locks at night. The guy who keeps receipts. The guy who sets reminders for birthdays and oil changes. I'm not flashy, but I'm steady. And for almost 3 years, I thought steadiness was something people valued, especially the kind of person who always said she wanted peace. I met Brielle at a friend's Friendsgiving in Raleigh, North Carolina. She showed up late, wearing a leather jacket and a grin, carrying a store-bought pie like it was a mic drop. Within 5 minutes, she'd charmed everyone in the room. She was bright, social, the kind of woman who could talk to a stranger for 10 minutes and leave them feeling like they'd known her forever. I was the opposite. I was the guy helping in the kitchen, stacking plates and refilling ice trays. That's probably why she liked me at first. I didn't compete for the spotlight. I made the room work. We clicked quickly. She told me she was fresh out of a toxic relationship and she didn't want anything heavy. She said she was rebuilding her life. I respected that. I wasn't in a rush. Brielle worked in digital. That's what she called it. Social media coordination, brand deals, helping local businesses with content. Sometimes it was a real contract. Sometimes it was a meeting with a potential client that turned into brunch and a selfie. She had big ideas. Podcasts, a clothing line, a YouTube channel that was always almost ready. She talked about freedom like it was oxygen. I worked as a network tech for a healthcare group. Boring, stable, a clock-in, clock-out life. But it paid well enough that I didn't stress about rent, and I could help my mom when her car needed work. I liked stability. I still do. At first, our differences felt complementary. She brought energy. I brought calm. She called me her safe place, her soft landing. I ate that up like a starving man. The pattern started small. Her lease ended, and she said her roommate situation got weird. She stayed at my place for what was supposed to be 2 weeks. 2 weeks became 2 months. She didn't officially move in, but her stuff multiplied. Hair products on my bathroom counter, clothes in my closet, boxes in the hallway, until I figure out storage. Then her car died. I drove her everywhere. Then a contract ended, and she said money was tight. I covered groceries, then utilities. Then, 1 month, I covered her half of rent entirely because it's just until the next thing comes through. She cried and called me an angel. I believed her. The weird part is, I didn't feel used at the time. I felt needed. That's the drug for guys like me. I'd rather be needed than admired. Last year, she got sick. Like real sick. Not, I'm sniffly sick. Bronchitis that wouldn't quit. She was coughing until her ribs hurt. She couldn't sleep lying down. I took PTO, set up a humidifier, bought cough syrup, made soup, ran out at midnight for a different inhaler because she said the first one felt wrong. She kept teasing me. You're too good. You're gonna spoil me. I thought that meant she appreciated it, but in hindsight, even when she complimented me, there was always a tone like she was laughing at the idea that someone could be that devoted. Like it was cute and slightly pathetic. The first time I really felt something off was when she started talking about not believing in labels. Not in a dramatic way. In that breezy, modern social media way. Like she'd read a thread and decided it was her personality for the week. People put so much pressure on monogamy, she said once while scrolling on her phone. Like, why does love have to be ownership? I laughed it off. Are you saying you want an open relationship? She rolled her eyes like I was being old-fashioned. I'm saying I want honesty and freedom, but you're not ready for that conversation. That line stuck with me. Not ready. Like I was behind, and she was enlightened. Then there was Carter. Carter was a guy she met through some startup networking thing in Charlotte. The type of guy who posts gym mirrors and quotes about discipline. He always had a new hustle. Crypto 1 month, flipping sneakers the next. Brielle started mentioning him constantly. Carter's so bold. Carter just booked a spontaneous weekend in Miami. Carter said I shouldn't settle for comfort. At first, I told myself it was harmless. People talk about coworkers. People talk about friends. I wasn't going to be the paranoid boyfriend who polices names. But then she started using him as a measuring stick. When I suggested we plan a weekend trip, she said, "That's cute. But you plan things like you're scheduling a dentist appointment." When I said I didn't want to invest in some sketchy coin he'd recommended, she laughed and said, "God, you're so risk-averse. It's like you're allergic to living." She started going out more. Girls' nights that weren't just girls. Networking events, birthday dinners, after parties. Her phone stayed face down on the table. If it lit up and I glanced, she'd flip it over like it was a reflex. If I asked how her night went, she'd sigh. "Do I have to give you a report?" If I didn't ask, she'd say, "You're not even curious about my life." There was no winning, just constantly being placed on trial. The night of the party, I didn't even want to go. It was our friend Theo's birthday. A rooftop apartment in downtown Raleigh. Cheap beer, loud music, strangers squeezed shoulder to shoulder. I had a long week. Brielle had been distant, glued to her phone, laughing at messages she wouldn't explain. But she insisted. "Come with me. It'll be fun. You've been so in your head lately." So we went. We arrived together. She kissed my cheek at the elevator like we were fine. In the apartment, she took my hand for exactly long enough for people to see us. Then she drifted. I grabbed drinks. I made small talk. I laughed at Theo's stupid story about his neighbor. I tried to relax. And then I saw her across the room, perched on the arm of the couch beside Carter, laughing way too hard, fingers tapping his knee like it was nothing. My stomach tightened. I told myself, don't overreact. Don't be the insecure guy. You're calm. You're mature. 30 minutes later, I looked again, and she wasn't on the arm of the couch anymore. She was on his lap, not like, "Oops, I sat here because there's no room," like she belonged there. His hand was on her thigh. Her head leaned toward his. Their faces close enough that it didn't matter what they were saying. It was intimate. People were noticing. I saw the glances, the awkward looks away, the pity in someone's eyes when they looked at me. I walked over slowly, not storming, not shaking, just quiet. I set her drink on the coffee table and said, "Brielle, can we talk?" She looked up at me, eyes half-lidded like I'd interrupted her show. She didn't move, didn't even pretend to stand. "What?" she said. I kept my voice even. "What is this?" She smiled. That same satisfied smile. "Don't do this, not here." Carter chuckled. Like I was entertainment. I said, "Get off his lap." Brielle tilted her head. "Why? Because it makes you uncomfortable?" "Yes," I said. "Because we're together." She made a face like I'd said something embarrassing. We're together, in a way. But I'm allowed to have options. The words hit me like cold water. Options. Like I was a plan. Like I was a safe investment. And he was the fun stock you gamble on. I stared at her for a second, waiting for the punchline, waiting for someone to say it was a joke. She didn't. She kept going, casual and cruel. "You've been so predictable lately. You're sweet, Mason. But sweet isn't enough. I need someone who challenges me." Carter leaned back with this smug grin. "Man, lighten up. It's not that deep." I looked at him. "You're sitting there with my girlfriend on your lap." Brielle rolled her eyes. "God. See? This is what I mean. You make everything heavy. You're so traditional. Traditional. Like respecting your partner is outdated." My face was hot. My chest felt tight. I could feel the room listening, pretending not to. And the worst part? She wasn't embarrassed. She was empowered by it. I nodded once. "Okay, that's all I said." I turned around, grabbed my jacket, and walked out. No screaming. No, "How could you?" No tears in the apartment. I refused to give her a performance. In the Uber, my phone buzzed like an angry insect. Text after text. "Are you seriously leaving? Wow, so you're just running away. You're embarrassing me. Carter says you're insecure. This is why you'll always be alone." I stared at the screen, heart pounding. And then I blocked her number with my thumb like I was closing a door. By the time I got home, the adrenaline had faded into something hollow. I sat on my couch in the dark, shoes still on, trying to understand how a person can flip a relationship into a public humiliation and call it freedom. At 3:06 a.m., my door camera sent an alert. Movement at my front door. Then the pounding started. "Mason, open up!" Her voice was thick like she'd been drinking. She hit the door again. "Come on." Don't be dramatic. I stood in my hallway, phone in my hand, staring at the door like it was a line I couldn't uncross. She cried, then she got angry, then she cried again. I didn't mean it like that. It was just fun. Why are you doing this to me? Doing this to her. Like I was the villain for leaving when she publicly replaced me. She slid down the door. I could hear it through the wood. Her sobs bounced in the hallway. Mason, please, she whispered. You're my safe place. I didn't think you'd actually leave. That line almost got me. The old part of me. The caretaker part. Then I pictured her smile on his lap. Options. I turned off the hall light and walked back to my bedroom. I didn't sleep much, but I didn't open the door. At sunrise, the crying stopped. When I checked the camera, she was gone. On the doormat was a crumpled note. Call me. We can fix this. I threw it away. That morning I changed the locks. Not because I thought she'd break in, but because I needed a physical act that said, this is real. This ended. I boxed up her stuff. Clothes, makeup, random chargers, the expensive necklace I'd bought her on our second anniversary. I didn't even feel angry while I packed. I felt numb and strangely clear. Over the next week, the story spread through our friend group like smoke. People texted, awkward and careful. Hey, are you okay? I heard what happened. That was messed up. I kept my replies short. Yeah, I'm fine, it's over. I didn't trash her. I didn't send screenshots. I didn't post anything. I just went quiet. And that quiet did something to me. It made space. I started going to the gym again. Not to get revenge body, just to burn off the restless energy. I called friends I'd neglected. I signed up for a weekend photography class I'd been putting off because Brielle always said my hobbies were cute but not scalable. Little by little, my life started feeling like mine again. Then, without me asking, people started telling me what happened after the party. Brielle didn't fall apart immediately. She doubled down. She posted a story the next day. A black screen with white text. Choosing myself. No more settling. She started showing up places with Carter. Loud. Performative. Like she needed everyone to see she was fine. Within 2 weeks, she'd apparently moved some things into his place in Charlotte. She told friends she was starting fresh and aligning with someone who matches my energy. I heard all of this the way you hear about a storm in another state. Distant. Not my problem anymore. But the storm moved closer fast. Carter was all charisma on weekends and a mess Monday through Friday. He talked big, spent bigger, and had a temper that came out when he didn't get what he wanted. Brielle quit one of her steadier gigs because, according to a friend, Carter told her she was playing small by working for clients who wanted consistency. She started freelancing full-time, except now she had a boyfriend who didn't pay bills and loved expensive nights out. About 6 weeks later, the new beginning cracked. Friends told me Brielle started showing up to brunch looking drained, making excuses for why she hadn't slept. She laughed too loudly, drank too early, and kept checking her phone like she was afraid of what she'd see. Then came the real collapse. Carter cheated on her with someone he met at his gym. Not rumors. He posted her, tagged her, made it public like it was a flex. When Brielle confronted him, he kicked her out. Like that day, bag on the porch, door locked. She bounced between couches. She lost clients because she missed meetings and blew deadlines. People in our circles didn't want to deal with the drama. Some of them, the ones who defended her at first, started backing away. And then my phone lit up from an unknown number. Hey, it's Brielle. I stared at the screen. The name alone made my stomach twist. I know you blocked me, the message continued. But please, just talk to me. I made a mistake. I blocked the number. The next day, another unknown number. Mason, please, I'm not okay. Blocked. 2 days later, an email in my inbox. Subject line, I'm sorry. In the body, paragraphs about realizing what she'd lost, how Carter wasn't who he pretended to be, how she'd been scared of commitment, how she wanted to start over, how I was the only person who ever truly cared. I didn't reply. That's when the pressure started coming from the sides. A mutual friend messaged. She's really hurting. Can you at least meet her for closure? Closure. Like I owed her a neat ending. I said, no, please don't ask me again. Another friend tried a softer version. She knows she messed up. She's learned her lesson. I didn't answer. Then her sister texted me. Her sister, who I'd met maybe twice. My sister is spiraling because you're ignoring her. You were always the calm one. Please just talk to her. I stared at that message for a long time because it showed me exactly what Brielle had trained people to think, that I was responsible for regulating her emotions, that my steadiness was an endless resource she could withdraw from whenever she wanted. I replied once, "Your sister made her choices. Respect mine." Then I blocked her too. A week later, her mom called. I recognized the area code and my heart jumped like I was a kid getting called into the principal's office. "Mason," she said, sweet as syrup. "Honey, can you please talk to Brielle? She's in a bad place. She feels abandoned." Abandoned. I almost laughed. It came out as a short breath through my nose. I said, "Ma'am, your daughter humiliated me in front of our friends. I owe her nothing." There was a pause. Then the tone shifted. "You don't have to be cruel. Cruel. For leaving. For not rescuing her from the consequences." I kept my voice calm. "Please don't call me again." Then I blocked the number and sat on my couch, hands shaking. Not because I missed Brielle, but because I realized how deep the entitlement ran. And still, she escalated. She started leaving voicemails from burner numbers. Some were crying, some were angry, some were both. "I know you're home. I saw your car. Why are you doing this? I didn't think you'd actually throw me away. I'm sorry, okay? I was drunk. I was stupid." Then the ugly ones. "You're not perfect, you know. You liked being the hero. You're boring and you know it. No wonder I needed options." Each voicemail felt like a hook trying to drag me back into the same cycle. Hurt me, blame me, demand comfort. I didn't bite. I just kept living. And that's when she showed up somewhere she absolutely shouldn't have. It was a Tuesday afternoon, 2 minutes after I'd fixed a network switch on the third floor and was heading down to the lobby for coffee. The security desk guy, Marcus, waved me over with a look that said, "This is going to be annoying." "Mason," he said quietly, "there's a woman here asking for you. Says it's urgent." My stomach sank before I even turned my head because I knew. Brielle was standing near the entrance, hair pulled back in a messy knot, eyes swollen, wearing that leather jacket like it was armor. She looked smaller than I remembered. Not fragile. Just deflated, like someone had let the air out of her. When she saw me, her face lit up with relief, like I'd just arrived to rescue her from a burning building. "Mason," she said, stepping forward. I stopped several feet away. "You can't be here." Her mouth trembled. "Please, just 5 minutes." Marcus watched us like he was ready to intervene. I hated that she'd brought this into my workplace, into my real life. I said, "No." Her eyes widened like she couldn't believe the word existed. "I'm not trying to start anything. I needed to see you. You were right about him. You were right about everything." I didn't move. "Leave." She swallowed. He took everything. I'm not saying it's your problem. I don't have anyone." That was the truth she'd been avoiding. When you treat people like options, eventually you end up alone. I said, "You had someone. You chose to disrespect him in front of everyone." Her face tightened. "I was drunk." I almost laughed again. Not because it was funny, but because it was the laziest excuse on earth. I said, "You didn't sound drunk when you said I was predictable. You didn't sound drunk when you told me you needed options." She looked like she might cry harder, and for a split second, that caretaker part of me tried to stir. Then I remembered the way she'd smiled, the way she'd enjoyed it. I turned to Marcus. "If she doesn't leave, call whoever you need to call." Brielle's face snapped from pleading to angry in half a second, like a mask slipping. "Wow," she hissed, "so you really are cold." I met her gaze. "I'm done." She stared at me like she wanted to burn my face into memory. Then she spun around and walked out fast, shoulders stiff. I went upstairs, hands shaking again. Not from heartbreak, from the violation. from the realization that she didn't just want forgiveness, she wanted access. She wanted control back. That night, I got 3 more voicemails from new numbers. The first was sobbing. "I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." The second was calmer, almost manipulative. "We don't have to label it, we can just start fresh, slow, like before." The third was pure venom. "You think you're so mature. You love punishing me." I didn't reply. I documented everything, screenshots, dates, times. I installed a better door camera and told my building manager not to let her in if she showed up again. It felt dramatic, but after seeing her in my workplace, I stopped underestimating what she might do. Meanwhile, my life kept moving forward, and that pissed her off more than anything. I reconnected with my friend group in a way I hadn't in years. Not the gossip part, the real part. Basketball on weekends, trivia nights. Actually laughing without feeling like I needed to prove something. I also started taking photography seriously. Not cute hobby seriously. Real class, real assignments, early morning shoots. I realized I'd been shrinking my life to fit into Brielle's orbit. And then I met Nina. It wasn't a dramatic meet-cute. It was normal, which was exactly what I needed. She was in my photography class, quiet but funny, the kind of person who listened with her whole face. She had this calm presence that didn't demand attention, but somehow made the room feel steadier. We started talking after class, then grabbing coffee, then hanging out on weekends. No games, no testing me, no trying to make me jealous to feel powerful. The first time I told her, vaguely, that I'd just gotten out of something messy, she didn't dig for details. She just said, "I'm sorry, that sucks. Do you want to talk about it or do you want to not think about it right now?" That question alone was like stepping into clean air. We kept things slow, not because I was scared, because I was finally respecting my own pace. Brielle, however, did not respect anything. One night, my door camera picked up movement at 1:47 a.m. Brielle again. She didn't pound this time. She just stood there, looking at the door like she expected it to open by magic. She held her phone up like she was recording. Maybe she wanted proof. Maybe she wanted to bait me. Then she slid a note under the door. "Please, I can change." I didn't pick it up until morning. I threw it away without reading it fully. The next day, a mutual friend called me. Theo. "Hey," he said carefully. "I'm not trying to be in the middle, but Brielle told people you're being cruel." I felt my jaw tighten. "Of course she did." Theo sighed. "She's saying you used her, that you liked being the hero and then abandoned her when she needed you." There it was. The rewrite. The script flip. I said, "Do you believe that?" Theo hesitated. "No, but she's saying it loud and some people are confused." That anger finally rose. Not the explosive kind. The clear kind. I said, "I'm not going to defend myself against someone who publicly disrespected me. Anyone who buys her version can stay out of my life." Theo went quiet. Fair. After that, I stopped engaging with anyone who tried to pull me back into it. I didn't argue. I didn't explain. I didn't write a manifesto. I just kept living. And that, apparently, became unbearable to her. Because 2 months later, the final confrontation happened. It was a friend's birthday gathering. Different friend, different bar. A low-key place downtown with string lights and cheap cocktails. I almost didn't go because I had a weird feeling in my gut, but Nina squeezed my hand and said, "We're not hiding. This is your life, too." So we went. I felt good that night, not in a smug way, in a grounded way. New haircut, new jacket, promotion at work finally official. I wasn't that guy on the couch in the dark anymore. We walked in, said hi, grabbed drinks. People smiled. Some gave me the look that said, "I'm glad you're okay." Then the door opened and the temperature in the room changed. Brielle walked in like she'd been dragged there by fate. Hair messy, makeup half done. eyes scanning the room with desperation. When she saw me, her whole body locked onto me like a magnet. She walked straight over, ignoring everyone else, and stopped too close. "Mason," she breathed, like she'd been holding that word in her mouth for months. Nina's hand tightened around mine. Brielle looked at Nina, and her face hardened. "Who is this?" I said calmly. "This is Nina." Brielle's eyes flashed. "So you replaced me." I almost smiled at how predictable that was, the irony of her using that word. I said, "No, I moved on." She swallowed, then her expression softened into pleading like she was switching masks in real time. "Please," she said, voice shaking. "Just talk to me. I've been trying so hard. I know I messed up, I know. Carter was toxic. He hit me. He took everything. I didn't realize what I had until it was gone." The bar got quieter around us. People were listening. That same spotlight she loved so much was back, and she was using it again. Nina leaned slightly closer to me, not in an aggressive way, but in a supportive way, like she was reminding me I wasn't alone. Brielle reached for my arm. I stepped back. I said, "Don't touch me." Her face twisted. "You're really going to act like I'm some stranger?" I said, "You made yourself a stranger the night you told me I was an option." Her eyes filled with tears. I was drunk. I let out a slow breath. "You've used that excuse like it erases intent. It doesn't." Brielle's voice got louder. "So you're just going to punish me forever? After everything I went through?" There it was again. The belief that her pain was my responsibility. I said very clearly, "What you went through is terrible. I'm sorry you went through it, but it doesn't buy you access to me." Her mouth opened and closed like she couldn't process the idea. She looked around at the people watching, like she wanted an audience to shame me into compliance. "You owe me closure," she said louder. I shook my head once. "No." Her eyes narrowed. "So you're heartless now." I looked at her and felt nothing. Not rage, not longing, just the quiet certainty that I'd already walked out of this story months ago. I said, "Brielle, you taught me something I should have learned earlier. Being kind doesn't mean letting someone disrespect me. I'm grateful I learned it. But we're done." Her face crumpled. "I love you." Nina's fingers squeezed mine again. I said, "You loved what I provided. You didn't respect who I was." That landed. I saw it land. For a second, Brielle looked like she might collapse right there. Then her expression shifted. Anger, humiliation, disbelief. And she pushed past us, storming toward the door. She didn't go far. Later, someone told me she was outside crying, sitting on the curb like she did outside my apartment the night of the party. But I didn't go out. I stayed inside, with Nina, with my friends, in my own life. At some point, Nina leaned in and whispered, "Are you okay?" And I realized I was. Not because it didn't hurt back then. It did. But because the version of me who would have opened the door at 3 a.m. and apologized for being hurt, that version of me was gone. I didn't win anything. I didn't get revenge. I didn't gloat. I just chose myself. And the weirdest part is, that choice felt like breathing for the first time in years.